Sahih al-Bukhari 344. Narrated Imran. Once we were traveling with the Prophet, and we carried on traveling till the last part of the night, and then we halted at a place and slept deeply. There is nothing sweeter than sleep for a traveler in the last part of the night. So it was only the heat of the sun that made us to wake up, and the first to wake up was so-and-so, then so, and so, and then so-and-so. The narrator of said that Abu Raja had told him their names, but he had forgotten them, and the fourth person to wake up was Umar bin al-Khattab. And whenever the Prophet used to sleep, nobody would wake up until he himself used to get up, as we did not know what was happening, being revealed to him in his sleep. So Umar got up and saw the condition of the people, and he was a strict man, so he said, Allahu Akbar, and raised his voice with takbir, and kept on saying loudly till the Prophet got up because of it. When he got up, the people informed him about what had happened to them. He said, there is no harm, or it will not be harmful. Depart. So they departed from that place, and after covering some distance the Prophet stopped and asked for some water to perform the ablution. So he performed the ablution, and the call for the prayer was pronounced, and he led the people in prayer. After he finished from the prayer, he saw a man sitting aloof who had not prayed with the people. He asked, "Oh so-and-so, what has prevented you from praying with us?" He replied, "I am junub and there is no water." The Prophet said, "Perform tayammum with clean earth, and that is sufficient for you." Then the Prophet proceeded on, and the people complained to him of thirst. Thereupon he got down and called a person. The narrator added that Abu Raja had named him, but he had forgotten, and Ali, and ordered them to go and bring water. So they went in search of water, and met a woman who was sitting on her camel between two bags of water. They asked, "Where can we find water?" She replied, "I was there, at the place of water, this hour yesterday, and my people are behind me." They requested her to accompany them. She asked, "Where?" They said, "To Allah's Messenger." She said, "Do you mean the man who was called the Sabi, with a new religion?" They replied, "Yes, the same person." "So come along." They brought her to the Prophet, and narrated the whole story. He said, "Help her to dismount." The Prophet asked for a pot, then he opened the mouths of the bags and poured some water into the pot. Then he closed the big openings of the bags and opened the small ones, and the people were called upon to drink and water their animals. So they all watered their animals, and they, too, all quenched their thirst, and also gave water to others. And last of all the Prophet gave a pot full of water to the person who was junub, and told him to pour it over his body. The woman was standing and watching all that which they were doing with her water. By Allah, when her water bags were returned, they looked like as if they were more full of water than they had been before. Miracle of Allah's Messenger. Then the Prophet ordered us to collect something for her. So dates, flour, and salt were collected, which amounted to a good meal that was put in a piece of cloth. She was helped to ride on her camel, and that cloth full of foodstuff was also placed in front of her. And then the Prophet said to her, "We have not taken your water, but Allah has given water to us." She returned home late. Her relatives asked her, "Oh so-and-so, what has delayed you?" She said, "A strange thing. Two men met me and took me to the man who was called the Sabi, and he did such and such a thing. By Allah, he is either the greatest magician between this and this," gesturing with her index and middle fingers, raising them towards the sky, indicating the heaven and the earth, "or he is Allah's true apostle." Afterwards the Muslims used to attack the pagans around her abode, but never touched her village. One day she said to her people, "I think that these people leave you purposely. Have you got any inclination to Islam?" They obeyed her, and all of them embraced Islam. Abu Abdullah said, "The word Saba'i means the one who has deserted his old religion and embraced a new religion." Abu Aliya said, "The Sabi'is are a sect of people of the scripture who recite the book of Psalms." Sahih al-Bukhari 345. Narrated Abu Wail. Abu Musa said to Abdullah bin Mas'udi, "If one does not find water for ablution, can he give up the prayer?" Abdullah replied, "If you give the permission to perform tayammum, they will perform tayammum even if water was available, if one of them found it cold." Abu Musa said, "What about the statement of Ammar to Umar?" Abdullah replied, "Umar was not satisfied by his statement." Sahih al-Bukhari 346. Narrated Shakik bin Salama. I was with Abdullah and Abu Musa. The latter asked the former, "O Abu Abdurrahman, What is your opinion if somebody becomes junub and no water is available? Abdullah replied, do not pray till water is found. Abu Musa said, what do you say about the statement of Ammar, who was ordered by the Prophet to perform tayammum? The Prophet said to him, perform tayammum and that would be sufficient. Abdullah replied, don't you see that Umar was not satisfied by Ammar's statement? Abu Musa said, all right, leave Ammar's statement, but what will you say about this verse of tayammum? Abdullah kept quiet and then said, if we allowed it, then they would probably perform tayammum even if water was available, if one of them found it, water, cold. The narrator added, I said to Shakik, then did Abdullah dislike to perform tayammum because of this? He replied, yes. Sahih al-Bukhari 347. Narrated al-Amash. Shakik said, while I was sitting with Abdullah and Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, the latter asked the former, if a person becomes junub and does not find water for 1 month, can he perform tayammum and offer his prayer? He applied in the negative. Abu Musa said, what do you say about this verse from Surah Al-Ma'idah, when you do not find water then perform tayammum with clean earth? Abdullah replied, if we allowed it then they would probably perform tayammum with clean earth even if water were available but cold. I said to Shakik, you then dislike to perform tayammum because of this? Shakik said, yes. Shakik added, Abu Musa said, haven't you heard the statement of Ammar to Umar? He said, I was sent out by Allah's messenger for some job and I became junub and could not find water, so I rolled myself over the dust, clean earth, like an animal does, and when I told the Prophet of that he said, like this would have been sufficient. The Prophet, saying so, lightly stroked the earth with his hand once and blew it off, then passed his left hand over the back of his right hand or his right hand over the back of his left hand and then passed them over his face. So Abdullah said to Abu Musa, don't you know that Umar was not satisfied with Ammar's statement? Narrated Shakik, while I was with Abdullah and Abu Musa, the latter said to the former, haven't you heard the statement of Ammar to Umar? He said, Allah's messenger sent you and me out and I became junub and rolled myself in the dust, clean earth, for tayammum. When we came to Allah's apostle I told him about it and he said, this would have been sufficient, passing his hands over his face and the backs of his hands once only. Sahih al-Bukhari 348. Narrated Imran bin Husayn al-Khuzai. Allah's messenger saw a person sitting aloof and not praying with the people. He asked him, O so-and-so, what prevented you from offering the prayer with the people? He replied, O Allah's messenger, I am junub and there is no water. The Prophet said, perform tayammum with clean earth and that will be sufficient for you.